When we take a look back at our lookup grade feature, that worked fairly well. But we do run into a problem when this occurs. Say instead of a C, we actually earned a C minus. When I do that, my grade points turns out to be an NA. In other words, it can't find an exact match because I don't have a C minus in my grade table. So what I'm going to have to do is modify my grade table. So I need to put in some additional grades here. So I've got two rows where I've got an A minus and a B plus. An A minus is worth 3.7 grade points. A B plus is worth 3.3. So I'll highlight all my grade points, use a comma format, get rid of one decimal place. Likewise, after a B and above a C, I'm going to insert a couple of rows where I've got a B minus and a C plus. A B minus is worth 2.7, C plus 2.3. Likewise, I need to insert a couple of rows here. I've got my C minus and a D plus, 1.7, 1.3 respectively, and finally I'm going to insert a D minus, which is worth 0.7. And the F is a dash, but it really isn't a dash, it's just a 0, and that's the way this particular format happens to treat that. So now when I look back at my lookup grade sheet, I had a 4 credit, I had a C minus, it looked up, found a 1.7, and I've got an updated GPA. So that's a fairly easy way to at least get that part working. All right, well, there's a couple other problems that we run into. For example, I might have dropped the class. So if I drop the class, I withdraw from it. So I don't have such a grade. Or if I took the class pass-fail and I pass it, again, it doesn't show up. Or the other thing that could happen is I could earn what's referred to as an incomplete, where I didn't complete the class this semester, but I have up until midterms of the following semester to do that. So far we can't handle that with our grade table. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to insert a few more letter grades here. And the reason why I'm inserting them in the above the F is that way my range name will still include everything here. So I'm going to put an F here, then I'll put an I, a P, and a W. So an F is worth 0. Incomplete is actually kind of 0 grade points. A pass, you don't earn any credits, so it's 0. And then finally there's my W. So now when I look at this, an incomplete, at least I don't get the 0 here anymore. If I type in a W, I don't get a 0. If I type in a pass, I don't get a 0. And likewise, I do get a 0 instead of the NA. If I type in F, we get 0. And what you might notice is in all of those cases, my grade point average is still a 2.1. So that's kind of a problem that we're running into. So we've got to do something slightly different with our spreadsheet. What we need to do is we need to determine if we've attempted the credits and whether or not we've earned the credits. I'm going to widen out this column just a little bit here, adjust the row height. Let me try this again. And I also want to adjust my margins on the page layout. So let's go to print titles, let's adjust the margins, shrink that back just a little bit, see if I can get this to fit on one page, and there's the page break, so that looks good. Alright, so here's what happens. If I earn an F, I've actually attempted the credits, but I haven't earned those credits. If I pass a class, I've earned the credits, but I don't want to count that as an attempt towards my overall GPA. So on my grade table, we're going to change this and insert a couple of rows, or I should say a couple of columns. And I'm going to take my points, put that here. So I've got the points, I've got the attempt, and I've got whether or not it's earned. Now with these, I'll get rid of the decimal places, and here's what we want to do. I'm going to put either a 1 or a 0 in here to indicate whether I've attempted the class or not attempted it. In other words, kind of true or false. And the reason 1 and 0 is going to work well is if I use 1, I can multiply that by the credits and get the total number of credits. If it's 0, it'll multiply it and return 0. So an A is an attempt. All of these are all attempts, including an F. An incomplete, we don't want to count as an attempt because it isn't until we either get a grade or we don't. A pass, we don't want to count as an attempt, and nor do we want to count withdrawing from a class as an attempt. For earned, all of these passing grades are earned, but F is not, incomplete is not, pass we do earn the credits, withdrew we don't earn the credits. So let's go back and check a few things. First, I want to take a look at my grade points. That one looks all right. The attempt, what I'm going to do is do a VLOOKUP. I'll look at the grade in my grade table. And notice by inserting rows and columns, I still maintain that this entire table is called grade table. This time I want to return the third column, the attempt, and I want to make sure that that's an exact match, so I type in false. For the earned, we'll do something similar. VLOOKUP. I'm going to look up the grade in the grade table, and I want to return the fourth column. So I've got 1 listed there. If I copy this down, we can find out, did you earn the credits or did you not earn the credits? Or I should say, did you attempt the credits or did you not? Did you earn the credits or did you not? All right, well, I'm just returning the 1s and 0s, so actually what I want to do is I want to take that VLOOKUP and I want to multiply it by my number of credits. And the same thing here for the earned. I'm going to multiply that by the number of credits that the course is. Copy this down. Sum these up just like we did for my credits. So it tells me how many credits I've attempted, how many I've actually earned, and now my honor points, or my grade points, is equal to the total honor points divided by the number of credits that we've taken. And you can see by passing this calculus class, the only thing that gets added up into my grade point average is just the B and the A from my 2 classes here, and I've got a 3.5. Now if I would have had an incomplete, I still show up as a 3.5. If I withdraw from that class, I still show up as a 3.5. If I fail the class, you can see that my grade point average certainly drops very quickly. So that's pretty close to the correct way that we want to set up this spreadsheet. All right, last thing that we want to do with this is I'm going to insert 3 more rows. I want to take my sequence, copy this down, type in some additional classes. Another LIB class, we'll type in a econ class and an accounting class, and we'll take lib 105, econ 221, and 227. So I'll take college writing, microeconomics, and managerial accounting. Each of those are 3 credit classes. I haven't earned a grade in them because I'm going to take them next semester. But what I'd like to be able to do is I would like to be able to take my formulas and copy that down for all of these cells. So that way I'd be all set for the next semester. The problem is when I do that, it's looking up a grade of a blank and it can't figure out what that is. So I'm going to change my formula slightly. And there's a couple functions that we can use. The first one is the if function. The if function lets you decide if a certain action is true or false. So we have a logical test. My logical test is a cell blank? So there's an ISBLANK function. And the cell that I want to check is blank is the grade. If it's blank, I either want to return just 0 or nothing. So I'll type it as a 0. But if it's not blank, then I want to look that up in the grade table and return my grade. So copy that down, and that looks all right. The honor points, that worked out fine because it's just taking the number of credits times 0 grade points. That's not a problem. Now for the attempted credits, we want to do something similar. We're going to say if is blank, check the grade. If it's a blank, I want to return 0. If it's not a blank, we want to look this up. Put a parenthesis at the end. Copy that down. Do it one more time. If is blank, look up the grade. If it is, it's 0. Otherwise, if it isn't, it's got a grade in it. We're going to do the VLOOKUP command. So we'll copy that here. And in fact, what I want to do is copy these formulas up above and find out if everything looks like it's working right. And it looks like I've got my 2.1. So let's just test out what happens if we earned an A in college writing. It looks up the grade points, gives me the honor points, how many credits I've attempted, that looks good, and it updated my grade point average. So that's kind of the correct way that we want to set up our spreadsheet so we can have it flexible enough where we can enter in or delete grades depending on whether or not we've completed that semester, and our grade point average calculates out correctly each time.